Well, thank you for staying with us. We're now being joined by Uche Aniche. He joins us via Zoom from Port Harcourt. He is the convener of Startup South. It's a pleasure to have you on the program today.
Thank you, Victor. Thank you.
Of course, you're welcome. So, 7 years running now, Startup South has been happening, and one would be thinking, what has come out of this, after so many years of doing of having this community of startup founders, in one place, every year. What has come out of it? Which startup would you say has come out that we pretty soon would see that would rock this boat?
So over 7 years, like you said, I like to start by correcting an impression. Startup South is not just an event. Startup South is both a movement and it's an organization and it's an event. It's a movement that encompasses the 11 states in the South, South, and the Southeast. And the focus is to enable the emergence of founders doing high-scale ventures. And so to your question about what has come out of it, so some of the big big startups names here that come out of this part are members of our community, starting from the likes of Finance, Zen Finance, House Africa, AR Food. I can go on and on to name startups that have come out of our community. But the story is not just about the startups coming out of the community. The story is about how many people are getting inspired to build even bigger stuffs, right? I don't want to get into the amount of funding that we've been able to enable founders here raise, which was hitherto, it was seemingly impossible before now to hear that founders are raising funds in the region. But now, it's like something that it's easy. It's becoming a lot more easier to raise money. Founders already now know that I can stay back in the region and build, and I can get support to grow my startup here in the region. And so that's the story for us. The confidence and the inspiration that people are getting, knowing that they can make a dent from where they are, as opposed to having to live where they are. It's the biggest story for us.
Indeed, that are quite, sounds interesting and, what I say, inspiring, especially looking at the fact that, one of the key things that a lot of founders are having challenges with is raising capital to fund their ideas. So if that is happening for them, from the comfort of their region, then, that pretty much works very well. But, one of the things that people also, have in mind, when they hear, issues around funding, or I've raised capital here and there, is the fact that at the tail end, people are not able to repay this money, and then it take over, pretty much happens. So is there any form of mentoring, for those who raise capital so they don't get their hands burnt along the line?
Okay, so yes, that's why I said we're a community, and so this is a community of investors, community of founders, community of mentors, right? So the Southeast Angel Network is made up of about 5 people scattered all over the globe that kind of invest and support. They provide mentor-driven capital, right? Mentorship-driven capital to founders. And so, like I just got off a call this afternoon as I was talking to you, was one of the startups that we're trying to speak with to support with some challenges that we're having, right? So there is a lot of mentoring going on, within the community. So it's a community, even people who haven't started on their journey but want to understand what it means to build a startup. We have all of them in the community. So So when we gather at our conference, it's basically a way to bring all of these people together to come and meet themselves in person, physically, somewhere in the region. That's basically what our conference do, and of course that's why it's easy to confuse, the whole movement and the whole the whole movement as an event. No, it's not an event. It's beyond an event.
Indeed. So let's look at one other thing that people have been making complaints about in the past is to have this enabling environment. Just recently, the president signed the Nigerian startup bill, so it's an act now. How do you think this is going to make things better? Especially for the tech ecosystem and also startup founders.
So the ecosystem has a lot of hopes on the act. We have a lot of hopes and we have a lot of belief on the act. And that's also because the act itself is a product of the ecosystem, right? Yes, it's an executive bill, but I mean, it's a big tent approach where we had everybody get behind it, everybody work on it. So you had investors in the community, you had hubs, you have stakeholders, and then, I mean, from multinational organizations, everybody just came together to try and make that work because we believe in we believe in the potential of that in helping stabilize the environment for all of us. And so the act is going to help in not just making, I mean, beyond just making it possible for investors to feel confident in investing in Nigerian startups, it's also going to make it easier for founders to build startups in Nigeria. And I think that now that the president has signed the act, the attention and the focus has moved from the center and it has moved to the subnationals now. So now we are focusing on how do we get the states how do we get states across Nigeria to domesticate this act so that startups anywhere in Nigeria can benefit from the act, right? And so that's where the focus is, and it's one of the conversations that we're having regularly, even in our friends, where we're having some of the state officials from within the region come discuss, discuss their plan towards domesticating the act because it's going to help the ecosystem, and we don't want the region to be lagging behind. So that's the conversations we're having.
Well, indeed. I hope that the states would follow suit and domesticate the act so that everyone can be a partaker of this a good thing that has happened to the ecosystem. But just before I let you go, of course, I know you're following what's going on with Twitter, and Elon Musk is saying you have to pay $8 for verification. Would you be paying for that?
I can't say on air if I'll be paying for that. However, you just have to realize that Twitter is now a private entity, not a public entity, and as a private entity, the owner would have to do what he has to do to make sure that it is profitable for him. But again, Victor, when you look at the fact that he had to pay over $40 billion to get that, you would agree with me that one way or the other, he has to make that money back because he's a businessman after all. But whether we're going to be paying $8, for verification per month, that's a subject of conversation that we will see if the Twitter community eventually adopts. I'm not verified in the first instance, so I don't know if I need it yet, but we'll see how that goes.
Indeed, we will see how that goes. So thank you very much for joining us today. on the show, Uche Aniche, and sharing your thoughts on so many things around the tech ecosystem, as well as telling us how it's been going with the Startup South.
Thank you, Victor. My pleasure.
Sure. And that's where we drop the anchor on the show today. Thank you so very much for watching. And we'll leave you with the Moldly videos on our YouTube channel in the past week. I'm Victor Matthias. Bye for now.
Kicking off the most viewed videos is Rivers State Governor in his fire reform taking on the national chairman of the PDP.
Nobody will lead me to a campaign. A man who is corrupt. I have challenged you. You are corrupt and you cannot lead me to any campaign. I will not. River State will not. Whether they like it or not. You cannot lead us to a campaign. You is corrupt.
In fourth is the video of the crowd that turned up for Labour Party presidential candidate rally in Edo State as he visits the Oba of Benin afterwards.
You must build wealth and enterprise. So we fight corruption, everything. So you stop where you stop.
Third spot is taken by the Labour Party candidate again. Here he rates his time as governor of Anambra State and charges the incumbent to do more.
Even more intelligent because you're a professor and a trader, so you know more, so you'll be able to do things better than I'm doing it. You know, I've done my little one as a trader. Now the professor is there. He will do his own as a professor. The schools that didn't roof, you roof them. That's how government goes.
Second sees Governor of Rivers State voted under the umbrella of the PDP, pledging to donate campaign logistics to the presidential candidate of the Labour Party.
When he comes here for campaign, he needs vehicles to lead him to some local government or to some municipalities. He's a former governor, as a presidential candidate, a very humble one. As a state government, we will also give him support.
While in the first spot is a negotiation between Peter Obi and Nyesom Wike as to what to give and be gotten during the 2023 elections.
I will talk to them. Me and them will negotiate. I'll say, Oga Sipana, Enyendeba. So, Arab Ghana State, Arab Line Center. Is it not? If we leave state for them, it will leave federal for us.